Episode 42, The Cost of Darkness. The dark did not last. It never did. Emergency systems always came back online eventually. Power always found a way to reassert itself. Machines hated uncertainty. The question was never if the lights would return. It was what they would reveal when they did. Inside the processing hold, dim white bands flickered to life along the ceiling. Not enough to banish shadow. Just enough to sharpen it. Faces emerged from the dark in fragments. Eyes first, then hands. Then fear carefully rearranged into something survivable. The bodies of the Xarthians lay where they had fallen. No smoke, no drama, just proof. The silence that followed was heavier than the violence itself. Evelyn stood where she had stood through it all, posture unchanged. She didn't look at the dead immediately. She looked at the people. Shock moved through the room like a delayed wave. Some stared at the bodies in disbelief. Others looked away as if seeing too much would make it real. A few began to shake now that the danger had passed. Lyra had already shifted back. The wolf was gone, folded away beneath skin that still radiated heat. Blood streaked her arms and collarbone, none of it hers. Her breathing was steady, controlled, as if she'd just finished a drill instead of a kill. Kaelen stayed near her, close enough to ground, far enough not to crowd. Malik repositioned instinctively, placing himself between the civilians and the Xarthian bodies, not hiding them, containing the reaction. The system didn't wait long. The hum beneath the floor changed pitch, lower, heavier, layered with new frequencies. Containment seams brightened, then thickened, their glow no longer thread-like but braided. This wasn't attention, this was response. Evelyn felt it settle into her bones. They had crossed the threshold. Across the ship, Kaelen felt it too. Not as sound, as resistance. The vents she'd been moving through no longer breathed freely. Airflow stiffened, cycling faster, harder. Access panels she'd passed earlier sealed as she watched, metal knitting itself together with quiet, terrifying efficiency. She froze inside the duct, body pressed flat, heart steady. The machine wasn't panicking, it was correcting. She sent the impression through the link, sharp and minimal. They're tightening everything. Evelyn received it without flinching. In the hold, the first cost was paid. Not with violence, with removal. A containment seam opened 2 sections away, smooth and precise. Xarthians entered, not soldiers, not hunters. Technicians. They didn't look at the bodies, they looked at the room. Their scanners swept in overlapping arcs, measuring proximity, alignment, reaction. One stopped. A civilian man, middle-aged, quiet, had barely spoken since arrival, was flagged. He hadn't panicked. Hadn't moved during the fight, hadn't reacted when others had screamed. He was stable, that made him dangerous. The seam opened, hands grabbed him before his brain could catch up. He shouted once, then stopped. The seam sealed, no resistance, no struggle, just subtraction. A ripple of fear spread faster this time. Evelyn felt the civilians begin to edge closer together instinctively, seeking safety in mass. That would get them killed. "Don't," she said softly. Not loud, not commanding, but it cut through the noise. They listened, because now they knew she wasn't guessing. The Xarthians didn't linger. They didn't threaten. They left the body of their fallen where it lay. That was the message. "We can afford this. You cannot." The hold changed after that. Not louder, smaller. People spoke less. Movement slowed. Everyone watched themselves as much as they watched each other. Hope collapsed inward, turning brittle. Kaelen crawled again. The vents ahead narrowed, forcing her into tighter angles. Heat built quickly. The metal pressed close enough that she could feel the ship's vibration in her teeth. She didn't rush. She didn't force it. She let the machine think she'd stalled. Then she changed direction. dropped into a secondary shaft she'd mapped earlier, one the system had already dismissed as irrelevant. The wolf blood kept her muscles from burning. Training kept her mind quiet. She reached another maintenance node and stopped short. Someone was already there. A human. Young. Pale. Eyes wide with terror, hands pressed to the wall as if trying to disappear into it. They stared at each other in silence. Kaelen didn't move toward them, didn't speak, didn't signal. She waited. The human swallowed and whispered, Are you real? Kaelen nodded once. That was all it took. The human's shoulders sagged, relief hitting them too fast, too hard. And that was when the cost became clear. The vent behind them sealed shut, not slamming, just closing. The machine had noticed the anomaly converging. Kaelen didn't hesitate. She grabbed the human and shoved them into a side recess just as the corridor below filled with sound. Boots, metal, purposeful movement. Xarthians, hunters. Not searching randomly, following correction vectors. Kaelen held the humans still, one hand over their mouth, her own breathing slow enough for both of them. She sent one more pulse through the link. They're hunting now. In the hold, Everlyn felt the weight of that word settle. Hunting meant adaptation. Hunting meant learning, and learning meant escalation. The lights brightened another degree. The bodies of the Xarthians were removed, cleaned, erased. Only the memory remained. Everlyn looked at the pack, at Lyra, at Kane, at Malik, at the civilians who now knew exactly what the wolves were capable of. This cost us, she said quietly. No one argued. But stopping now would cost more. Silence followed. Across the ship, Kaelen stayed still in the dark, holding a stranger's life between her hands, listening to the hunters pass beneath her. The machine had adjusted, the price had been paid, and the next one would be higher.